Alright guys, this is going to be a video response to Woodlin37, Carl, who made a very thought-provoking, interesting video on the benefit system. In particular, he'd felt really angry after watching a TV program called Benefit Street. It's a program that I haven't seen, and I avoided it because I thought I would get quite angry watching it as well, but I actually thought that I'd get angry for different reasons than Carl got angry when he watched it. From his description, it kind of sounds like it focused on some of the more egregious kind of piss take examples of people on benefits, things like you know, a woman with 9 kids living off the system. And yeah, if you can't afford to provide for kids, don't have any kids if you can't provide for them yourself. So yeah, I agree with that. This program apparently also showed you know, people apparently living the life of Riley, you know, affording to drink lager and that stuff and have PlayStations and seemingly being on, you know, on the breadline kind of thing. And this got Carl really angry because he's seeing these people that are seeming to like game the system and take the piss, and it, you know, made him angry because the point is it's taking out of a central system. It's taxpayers' money that is paying for these people to live, and they're seeming to make no effort and that kind of thing. Now, it's healthy to be angry about socio-economic issues. It's good to see some passion there from Carl, but I would suggest that your anger is far better to be directed at the top of the economic food chain, because that's where the real problems are. I'll try and go into them in a little bit of detail, but yeah, basically, let's throw some stats out there for you, and I'll link to sources in the low bar. This is from a couple of years ago. There was, in a 12-month period, there was seen to be 1.2 billion in benefit fraud that was logged. So 1.2 billion in benefit fraud occurred. In that same period, 1.3 billion was left in unclaimed benefits. So this is obviously benefits people either aren't aware that they're you know, eligible for, or they just don't claim because they don't want to be on benefits. So 1.2 billion benefit fraud, 1.3 billion in unclaimed benefits. So already you can see that within that system, the people that are taking a piss aren't even as big as the money that's left over that people are entitled to. Now, when you compare those two numbers to another number that dwarfs it, in that same year there was 63 billion in unpaid taxes by big corporations. So 63 billion in corporate tax avoidance, obviously sanctioned by the government. This is companies like Starbucks and these big companies that have a lot of say in, you know, powerful circles. So 63 billion, and that's again taken out of the system. They should be putting that back into the system that allowed them to get rich in the first place. And when you talk about them, we're talking about obviously the very high level people within those companies, the owners and such like, right at the top, because it certainly isn't the workers of Starbucks that are getting rich off of that tax avoidance, and the society that they're taking from are clearly not benefiting from it either. So 63 billion in corporate tax avoidance compared to 1.2 billion in benefit fraud, which is pretty much cancelled out by 1.3 billion in unclaimed benefits. So you know, the problems of the economic problems that we should be angry about are at the top of the chain. The reason I didn't watch that program is because I thought I'd get quite angry at it as well for it, you know, for the fact that it seemed to demonise, further demonise already underprivileged, you know, lower classes. And I'm sure Carl would agree with the fact that, you know, there has been a lot of opportunities taken away from the kind of lower classes in recent years. We've sold a lot of our industry and manufacture to foreign companies. A lot of stuff's made in China now. A lot of our, you know, call centres are in India. So there's a lot of jobs that the lower level end of society, so to speak, would have been doing. They're gone. Pits are closed. You know, call centres are gone. Manufacturers gone. You know, the unions are basically non-existent these days. Employee rights have been hacked away as well. You know, anybody watching this video that's ever been sacked for an unfair reason because you were on some kind of probationary period or whatever, you know, it is harder for certain demographics to get on in life these days. Less opportunities, less power, and the like. And obviously, you know, and on the people that are on benefits as well, you have to understand that, I'm sure Carl does, but it's a small minority that are just blatantly taking the piss. You know, this program focused on some of the examples that would get you angry and make you mad at, you know, people seemingly taking a piss, but it's such a small problem on the grand scheme of things. Like with the statistics that I just read out a bit ago, So I got some more stats and information about the benefit system, and again these are all linked with sources to the information, the corroborated information. So a survey showed that people think around 41% of benefits go to the unemployed. The real figure is 2.6. So only 2.6 of all the benefits in the benefit system go to the unemployed. 42% of the welfare bill goes to pensioners. So obviously your pension. 42% of the welfare bill is going to pensioners. 21% of the welfare bill goes to people that are in low paid work. So that's either part-time or low paid. They're still entitled to a little bit to help them out. So 21% of people on benefits are in low paid work. Nearly 80% of job seekers allowance claimants stop claiming within 6 months. So nearly 80% of people on job seekers stop claiming within 6 months. So these long-term unemployed that seem to be gaming the system are a minority within that system. Of the 7.8 million families receiving child benefit, 1.2 million have more than 2 children. So again, this woman that had 9 kids, of the 7.8 million families that are receiving child benefit, only 1.2 million of those have more than 2 children. So again, that's a minority. So holding this woman up, this individual, as an example, and it gets people angry. That's what gets me angry about that, is that they're holding this tiny minority of powerless, ineffectual, really irrelevant on this grand scheme of things, people and situations for us to be angry at. And it's really damaging. It's really damaging, because our anger should be directed at the top of the tree for many reasons. They are fleecing us far worse than any benefit scrounger ever could. All the benefit scroungers in all the country ever could. You got the LIBOR scandal, all the banks colluding to lie about interest rates, and then the subsequent, the banker bailouts and bonuses that were given even after they screwed us all. The money that is wasted and lost and stolen at the top of the tree is fucking huge compared to the money that is gamed at the bottom of the system. This is what I'm trying to say, so that our anger should be directed at the top. Although of course I'm not obviously not endorsing sitting on your ass and not trying to make anything of yourself. Of course not. I think it's also a misconception that a lot of people enjoy that position. I think I've worked with underprivileged kids, so to speak, for quite a while, and teenagers, and I've seen, you can see the despondency with society. You can see them getting detached from society and being, bitter about it, bitter about not having the right guidance. A lot of the time, the parents were rubbish. Bitter about not having the guidance, bitter about not having opportunities, bitter about not being able to do anything and just feeling, like they're out on the outside of something. So sometimes they will then become, defiantly kind of anti-system, so to speak, and not feel motivated to try and make something of themselves because they've never had any kind of self-worth about them. So there's lots of complex problems that go into this minority of people that are, using the benefit system and to the detriment of actually trying to do something. But the majority of people, according to these polls and statistics that we've seen here that are linked to, are trying to make something of themselves, are trying to do something. And I'm not saying that Carl disagrees with any of this. Of course, he's just watched Benefit Street and got really angry about it and made a video about that. And I didn't watch it because I thought I would get angry. But I thought I'd get angry because of the misrepresentation or focusing on a minority of irrelevant, in the grand scheme of things, examples. I know this is getting a little bit convoluted. Let's get back on track. I don't want to get too complicated. It's a complex issue though. So, a survey found that people think around 27% of welfare is lost to fraud. The real figure is only 0.7, and in the year that this survey was talking about is 1.2 billion. Again, it might be the same year that I was talking about before. So a survey found that only 0.7% of welfare is lost to benefit fraud, and that's 1.2 billion. Now, they've got some different statistics here. Again, I'll link to the sources, but they say that around 17 billion of benefits that people are entitled to goes unclaimed every year. So this, I guess, must be across the board as opposed to not just job seekers. So this will be things like disability allowance and other stuff. So within the entire welfare system, around 17 billion of benefits that people are entitled to goes unclaimed every year. So that already dwarfs the amount of money that is wasted on benefit fraud, people are taking a piss. And again, of that minority that are taking a piss, you have to account for the fact that, you know, they're a symptom of a larger problem. You know, I really don't think that the majority of these people enjoy being unemployed, enjoy not having any focus, enjoy, you know, being at the bottom of the scale, that kind of thing. I think they become bitter about it and then, you know, defiant in that situation. But I really don't think they enjoy it that much. I think I've seen it turn around quite a few times where you give them something to focus on and they get some kind of something to latch onto and they feel a lot better about themselves. I think it's a very small minority that genuinely just don't give a shit, taking a piss, fleecing the system. Very small minority, and in that minority, it's, yeah, the numbers just it's really irrelevant compared to the rest of it. Anyway, I'm rambling. Sorry for the repetition. Another, just to answer some of the myths about benefit. Immigrants are 60% less likely to claim benefits than a British-born person. 64% of families receive benefits. That's 20.3 million families in this country. So 64% of families receive benefits. So again, it's not just the single mums with 9 kids that are held up for us to throw scorn onto and distract us from where the real egregious theft is occurring at the top of the tree. The UK spends 12% less on benefits per head than France does, and 19% compared to Germany. So we're not doing too bad in terms of the welfare system, compared to other countries. And lastly, 93% of new housing benefit claimants in 2010 and 2011 came from working people, as UK housing costs are the 3rd highest in Europe. So 93% of housing benefits claimants were from people that were working. So the benefit systems there is being used by a much wider range of people than just these lazy bums who seem to just not give a shit. I just don't think it's helpful for us to focus on those. I don't think they're clearly not the problem in society. The things we need to be angry about is what's happening at the top of the tree, the corporate tax avoidance, the banker bailouts, the politicians continuously hacking away our rights, and also making special rules for the powerful and rich. You've got the Cayman Islands, where I think is it 15 trillion is hidden, avoiding tax from various countries. So that, yeah, that's the stuff that's really damaging the world economy, is the stuff that the rich and powerful are doing. It's not the money that's getting lost to benefit fraud is a speck in the ocean. And again, it's a very complex issue, lots of reasons why people are in those situations, and the majority of people on benefits and on job seekers are trying to do something. And if you've ever been unemployed, you probably attest to the fact that it can be difficult out there, trying to find a job, and especially for some people that say they have criminal records or gaps in employment, those are other barriers as well. So I would wager that quite a lot of the people that are just really on benefits long term, I would wager that they experience at least some of those problems. And yeah, that is a symptom of a failed society. It wouldn't be helpful or constructive for us to just see them as the problem. But when you see a program like Benefit Street, no doubt it's going to get you angry and stuff, and that's fine.